Welcome back to the continuation of the Pauper set review for Dominaria United. Today we're bringing in the red common list. Once again joined by Josh, aka Mayo on the internet. First card of the day in red is a Minotaur Berserker. We've got Coalition Warbrute, 3 mana and a red for an Enlist Trample 3/4. Just a quick refresher for Enlist. As this creature attacks, you may tap a non-attacking creature you control without summoning sickness. When you do, add its power to this creature's until the end of turn. Lots of conditions on that. Still think it's reasonable. I think this card's going to be great in limited. Trample on an Enlist creature seems good, especially with 4 power. Or 4 toughness, rather. I don't think this goes anywhere else. This card jumping out at you for any reason?
No. The trample and the bigger toughness are really the standouts on this card. Playing against it, this card is absolutely a common bomb. I really wish it had an extra point on toughness, even like take it away from power, because you can just put power onto it with the enlist ability. Sure, there's a lot of red tape you got to get through, but surviving is what you really want on an enlist creature. And I mean, this does it, but there's a 2-drop enlist creature in white that has 1 less toughness, and it I think is the better enlist creature. This card swings through once, takes 2 creatures with it, unless they kill it with a spell. So that's really my thoughts on it. Probably playing 1, maybe 2 if you're not if you're not too deep into red, but that's about it.
Fair enough. All right, moving right along. We have Flowstone Infusion. A 1 mana instant. Target creature gets +2/-2 until end of turn. This is a what's it called? There's a black version of this, right? It's we just got it. Lash of Malice. That's exactly right. Yeah, this is just black or red Lash of Malice. And do we think red needs a Lash of Malice? I don't know that black needs a Lash of Malice in the face of Disfigure. Do you?
No, I don't think so. Because I mean, there's the warping whale already, right? So
right. Yeah.
And that one doesn't see play. There's just better removal.
Yeah, I can't imagine that red is happy to see this card. You know what would have been happy to see this card? Blue.
Oh, spatial contortion. Yeah. Oh, blue would have loved it.
Blue would have been happy to have this card, and they gave it to red for some reason. Red's got lightning bolts, guys. Come on. I just can't see this card being played anywhere. Do you?
Not really.
All right. Move it right along then. We have our first Kavu. I know that's a big deal to you. We have Flowstone Kavu. It's a 2/3. It's for 3 mana, 2 and a red. It's got Menace, and it has the weird Fire Breathing, which is it gets +1 but -1 to toughness until end of turn for 1 red.
Speaking of blue, this seems like a particularly blue ability.
This does seem like a particularly blue ability, which is weird that they're giving it 2 in a row to red here. It definitely feels like they're swapping that ability to red, which seems odd to me. That was distinctly a red-blue ability previously, so I understand why red gets a couple, but blue having a distinct lack of it in the same set seems odd. I can't see good things for this card. I mean, it could be a 4/1 with Menace, I guess, which isn't terrible. Mm-hmm. It's likely to trade for, like, their 3-drop, and like maybe you get an extra creature in there, but I can't imagine this card's that good, right?
No, you see, this card isn't as good because of Argivian Cavalier. Like, they just trade 1 for 1. This would kill 2 tokens, which would be the bare minimum to block it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Cavalier's just like, all right, well.
Is there any first strike in this set that really just hoses this thing?
There is, and it's coming up next.
Oh, okay, great. Well, that seems like a good enough segue to me. Uh,
Hmm.
Furious Bellow. 2 mana red instant, 1 red, 1 colorless. Target creature gets +3/+0, gains first strike until end of turn. Scry 1. There's that Scry 1 staple on combat trick ability that we saw earlier in some other colors. Both white and blue had it, right? On random combat tricks where you just, or
Yeah,
random cards where you just get Scry 1 stapled on there now.
yeah,
I'm not mad at Scry 1 being, fluff on cards these days. Top deck manipulation, I'm here for it. 3-1 and first strike seems real good as far as combat tricks go. Is it worth 2 mana? Um, Probably. I mean, at very least in limited, it's worth 2 mana. The ability to eat
yeah,
your opponent, like +3 is a lot, and first strike means that most of the time you're just going to eat whatever you want with this card, right?
yeah. There's nothing is going to survive whatever you put this on.
Yeah.
Um, I will say that there's something to be said about the loss of toughness from like what Titan strength would be, because I'd
Right.
expect
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
first strike to cost a colorless, or to make it cost two from one.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see
Um,
that.
yeah. So I mean, I just like the extra toughness. I know it doesn't matter for first strike, but it'd be beautiful to have it in some sort of a way where you just need that extra toughness to
Mhm.
avoid a kill spell. You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm a fan of this. I don't think it has any place outside of limited, but it is a great limited card. It's probably going to eat a lot of bombs, and you're going to be very happy about having this in your pool, I think.
oh yeah.
All right, nice and easy. Let's move to a not nice and easy card in Gitu Amplifier. Now, this card I think is going to cause some commotion in a few formats, but mostly constructed. I think is a lot of people are going to have feelings about this card. I don't know who's going to be right, but we're going to find out. It's a 2 mana human wizard. It's a 1/2. Costs a colorless and a red. Kicker for 2 colorless and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, bounce a creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Gitu gets +2/+0. So this is Festival Crasher slapped onto a a Mana War kicker. Um, I don't know how to feel about this card. I'll be honest. I can't imagine you were ever casting this for 5 mana in constructed. I just can't see that being a possibility and being good.
Oh yeah. You're not doing that.
But as a 2-drop for new Festival Crasher, I hate that this has 2 toughness instead of 3 toughness like Festival Crasher. I think that's going to be its biggest strike. But should Mono Red Blitz evolve in some capacity to a Is It Blitz? This probably goes in instead of Festival Crasher, just for the optional upside of Magic Christmas. Sometimes you get to kick this to remove their blocker and win the game. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be great in limited. It's certainly not designed for limited. I think this card might have a spot in the cube, I'll be honest. Red, blue has been struggling as far as archetypes go because it's hard to find payoffs for spells matter on creatures. And this is just one of very few creatures in Pauper that we have access to that is a payoff for spells matter. And I think in constructed, this card is probably never going to see play unless Is It Blitz becomes a deck. In which case, I think this card will often see play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said it. Dying to even non-metal crafted Galvanic Blast really hurts this card's chances.
Yep.
Human and Wizard might be saving grace, but I do think that this card, if it finds a place, it's going to be in a red and blue deck. I think Crasher definitely nudges it out of hot dogs. So
Yeah, I agree.
this is a card to keep in mind, not discount just yet, but the deck that it belongs in isn't there yet.
Agreed. All right. Run it by. We have Goblin Picker, a new loot effect, and except this is Rummage, I believe is the red variant, right? So we have Goblin Picker. It's 2/2 goblin, so it's a goblin bear, for 1 and a red. and it has an activated tap ability to rummage, red, tap, discard to draw. I'm usually a fan of these type of effects in limited. I'll just say it. I think these effects are good in limited. We are currently in the cube running the adventure rummage with the 2/3 body attached, where it has a 3 mana activated ability to rummage. Notably, that card does not tap, but that's the initial comparison that jumps to mind. I can't imagine this card is good enough to cut that card. One, being able to rummage more than once a turn is a big deal, and two, having the 1 mana instant speed rummage when you need it as an adventure first can help you set up turns enough to get to the point where you can cast it as a creature and then subsequently activate multiples. I think this card's fine and limited. I don't think it's going to see constructed play by any means, and I don't really see it in the cube either. What do you think?
Yeah, so I agree. I don't think it has a place in cube. This is just a draft card. I am actually disappointed though about having this goblin be a 2/2. He doesn't feel right.
I agree.
Like I think this one should still be a 1/1. But I mean, even with that bump up, he's not good enough.
Can we just throw out the fact that he is rummaging what looks to be as prismatic lens and pulling out what I can only interpret as a salt shaker is kind of cool.
Yeah, all right.
Random art Easter eggs, I'm into it. Outside of that, yeah, I agree. I don't think 2/2 is thematic enough for goblins, but I can't imagine this sees play anywhere. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, next up is Enthrall to the Pit. Sorcery, 3 mana and a red, so 4 total, with a kicker of 2 and a black for 7 total casting cost. Jesus, that's a lot of mana. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste, so your regular threaten. And then you get the staple effect. If it was kicked, sacrifice that creature at the beginning of the next end step. I'll be honest. For 4 mana, I want this to be an instant. Like, we have Ray of Command, and if you're paying 7 mana just to kill the dude, like, this should be an instant. I don't think there's any reason for this to be a 4 mana sorcery threaten.
Yeah, I think this should definitely be a threaten. Kicker cost still fine. I'd pay 6 for this effect. But I do want it to be just baseline threaten.
I agree. I think this should be a 3 mana base cost spell. I could even argue that the sacrifice effect should take the form of like a Liliana's Edict, which was a 2 mana instant sack creature, or like what was it? A Diabolic Edict. I think that this card could be a 3 mana sorcery with a 2 mana kicker, or it could be a 4 mana instant with a 3 mana kicker. And I wouldn't be too upset about it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not ever happy about paying 4 mana for a generic threaten, and I'm certainly never paying 7 mana for this effect at sorcery speed.
Mm-hmm. It does have the benefit of, still being a threaten, so it can actually just win you the game in that gotcha fashion that threatens can do for the unprepared.
Sure.
But it's draft and sealed, Yeah. This is like a 23rd card.
Especially in a format that oftentimes its best cards are planeswalkers. You're not even stealing those, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I can't see this card being all that good. I mean, it's a threaten. Threatens are played in limited, and sometimes they steal games. But this seems pretty below average as far as threatens go to me.
Yeah, I mean, there was an uncommon one that cost 4 for a threaten back in original Zendikar, like that gave +2/+0 on the threaten,
Yep.
and that was enough, for, at 4. But this costs you 4 because you could later kick it, which I think is the incorrect design choice. Uh, like I would much rather have that extra cost move to kicker, but I think it's appropriately costed kicker at 3. So I that's why I'm coming up with 6 on this. I don't know. Maybe they tested it. Maybe it was too good.
Yeah, I'll
Art's
give
kind of
them the
sick
benefit
though.
of the doubt that testing actually ruled that 6 mana and or an instant at 7 mana was too good and they just nerfed this card and now it's bad. Um, but let's move on. Speaking of nerfed cards that now just seem bad that I don't think ever got a good iteration, Jaya's Fire NATO, 10 out of 10 name. However, once you start reading, you get sadder and sadder. 5 mana sorcery. Ugh, first sad moment. 4 and a red. Deal 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Scry 1. Why is this a sorcery? I mean, we've seen 4 mana variants of this card without the scry staple text, and it was an instant.
I got this. It's because fire moves slower than lightning. That's why.
I'm not impressed.
I'm not enthused. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't fathom why this card is a sorcery. Um, it's a lava axe that can't go face. I'm just never I never want this card in my limited deck. I never want it there. I want nothing to do with this card in cube, and I if this card makes it into a 75 and Pauper constructed, the format is dead. Um, this card seems just abysmal. This is probably the worst card we've looked at so far.
Yeah, and I don't want to make anyone watching this feel bad, but if this makes it into your draft deck, I feel like you should go through that draft again in your head and figure out where
What
it
went wrong?
went wrong. Because this is a pretty strong indicator. Like the signals about what to go into are great to look at. This is a signal saying that you went into the wrong thing. So
I
honestly, in
think
the
that
nicest
there's
way.
going to be someone out there that is just like strong armed into this being their 23rd card, and if they lose with it in their hand, they lose with it in their hand, and I'm okay with taking that. But man, you're never going to be happy if this is in your list. This
Exactly.
just does not feel like where you want to be in red at all in this set.
Yeah, I will say that with the caveat of sealed, like if you have to put it in, but
Yeah.
you could take a deeper look at your other colors.
Yeah,
Like
right. I
play an
might
extra
splash an
basic,
extra
you know.
color just not to play this card.
I
Um,
would play the filter land that scries one when it enters over this.
right, exactly.
Um, but that's enough ragging on one card, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's roll it along and let's rag on the next card. Actually, that's a joke. This card's great and I'm happy about it. Keldon Strike Team, 3 mana 3/1. So this is the kind of sequence that we've been seeing. We had another 3/1 for 3 in black as well earlier, but this is the kicker card for red and white. It is a human warrior for 2 and a red. It has kicker of 1 white and a colorless. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create 2/1/1 soldier creature tokens. And then, as long as Keldon Strike Team entered the battlefield this turn, creatures you control gain haste. Now, the important thing on this text box is that that second ability has nothing to do with its kicker. This card just enters the battlefield and gives your board haste. It is a kicked Goblin Bushwhacker for a single red mana and 2 colorless, and it itself is a 3/1 with haste. Worth noting, it is not an ETB effect that gives everything haste. If this dies, they lose haste. This is a static ability. However, that being said, it does not need to be kicked, and it is if it entered the battlefield this turn, which means that you can flicker this ability in Constructed Pauper. I think this card is great. I think it's sweet. I'm excited to see what people come up with for this card. I think this card's going to win a lot of games in Limited. I think this card almost certainly makes it into the cube. This card's just good. What do you think?
Yeah, out of the red cards, this card is just insane. I like this card very much. I think that it actually has quite a solid chance of making it into the cube.
Yeah.
Um, it fits exactly with the theme of red white, and it addresses an issue of just slow creatures.
Yeah.
And yeah, this card's phenomenal. I want to build a deck around it in Pauper, but
Right.
I'm just I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I
You
I
know?
will say the one thing I think this card suffers from is that Bushwhacker pumps everything when it ETBs, which is there's something to be said for that. It does have a pseudo anthem effect with it, and that's a big deal for Bushwhacker. However, the ability to flicker this card is massive, and I think that if there is a deck that uses this card, it's going to be great. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to see this card. I think it's great. Obviously, dying to 1 damage is a problem, but if this lives, man, it's so good for you.
Right?
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. I think it's a strong contender for a cube edition, and I think there may even be some like constructed viability for this card. I don't know what it is yet, but we're gonna figure it out because I'm excited about this card.
Yeah. Like I just there's some primal part of me that wants to bounce this with Skyfisher or with a lion and and kick it again.
Right.
Hmm.
All right. Yeah, great card. Really excited. This might be my favorite red card out of the set. I mean, I think the kicker is gravy.
Hmm.
All right. Next. Oh, card that I know you decimated some opponents with in this pre-release weekend. Maria's Outrider. Or Mariah's? I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced. It is a elf archer for 5 mana, and it is only red. So 4 mana and a red with reach. It is a 4/4 elf archer, and when it enters the battlefield with domain, it deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of basic land types among lands you control. This card is gonna dome a lot of people in limited. It's gonna dome a lot of people for 5 in limited, and man, is it gonna be good. Um, Yeah, this card is a common bomb in limited. I think this is strong domain signals. This is what your domain payoff is going to look like, and boy does it look strong. I don't think there's a shadow of a hint of a possibility that this makes it in the cube. However, I think this is a limited. This is a limited powerhouse. You're going to win a lot of FNMs drafts with this card. I don't think there's any way it makes it in constructed. I mean, if 5 mana 4/4 is just not where constructed Pauper is anymore at this point. It's far, far and away from that now. But boy, is this card good and limited.
Oh yeah. No, 5 mana lava axe that even leaves a 4/4 reach behind. Like this thing blocks whatever you want it to, and it hits them for 5. Domain allowing, but it's so close, and you really want to. But this card is a trap in constructed Pauper, at least until we get a board wipe that hits for 3.
Yeah, agreed. All right. What's up next? Oh, we've got the mana cost reduction. Molten Monstrosity. It is an 8 mana Hellion, 7 and a red. It says it's a 5/5 with trample. The spell cost X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. I'll say it. I think this is probably the worst of the cost reduction cards. I think this card needed haste and it would be great.
Mm-hmm.
However, it does not, and I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think that if you can get this card to cost 3, it's okay. The problem is for you to get it to cost 3, you already have to have a 5-power creature out. So subsequent casts of this card aren't bad, but man, is that first one nearly impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I I think there is something to say about mono red blitz playing this as a bailout condition, which is a really interesting angle to take here, where you can just pump up your Killing Fiend, see if they die, and if they don't die, you can slam this card for 1 mana in main phase 2. You know, I think this card's pretty bad. I think that if anything saves this card, it's going to be mono red blitz, and it's probably going to be like a 2 of as a top end there. But I don't see it. I don't think this card's making any splashes anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of took the words out of my mouth with haste instead of trample, because I think that much like with the black one, they just got the keyword wrong.
Yeah.
Haste on this is insane. It would make it feel better for the difficulty of being able to make it cheaper.
Yep.
I do want to say though that I would most likely cast this while the Kiln Fiend is still alive before they have a chance to kill it in main 1.
Sure, you can hold priority and slam this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Just because otherwise, if you get blown out that way,
yeah, then you can't cast your backup plan either.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Mm-hmm. But it's, yeah, I mean 5 is huge as well, so it's like in constructed, this is, it's difficult to put in, but I mean it's there if you need it.
We'll loop back to this, but just keep in your mind, what keyword do you think the black card needs? You had
Menace.
mentioned you think this guy. I was just gonna ask what if it has menace. I think that card's really good with menace, but let's move it down. A couple cards left in red. Making good time here. Smashed Dust. Boy, is this card a home run. This card's going to see a lot of 3 of plays in a lot of sideboards. It is a 2 mana sorcery. I think sorcery is the only thing that hurts this card, but boy, I don't think it matters. This card has a lot of text. It costs red and a colorless, and it says choose 1, destroy target artifact, destroy target creature with defender, or deal 1 damage to each creature your opponents control. I mean, man, is this good.
Right.
I think sorcery speed is the 1 tick against this card, and man, I don't think that's enough of a tick. I think this card's still a powerhouse. You get artifact destruction, which everybody needs in the face of affinity. You get Wonderwall's hate, which is kind of just hilariously incidental, also like haha sideboard tech. And then on top of that, you get like Elfin Fairy Repellent. Like, this card sideboards against like 7 decks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this card's great. It's gonna see so many sideboard slots, and it's probably good in limited. It's almost certainly making the cube. Like, this card does everything.
Oh yeah. No, in limited, the defender text is surprisingly relevant, and also just killing every single token on your opponent's side is insane. But in constructed, the power does shift to destroy target artifact, and it has the option to hit everything your opponent's control for 1. Like, you can even play this if you're playing X1s yourself, and you don't even care about it. You're just like, all right, blow all your stuff up, crack in super hard. Like, this card, it takes roll compression seriously.
Yeah, and I think this card is mainly going to see play in both red-white Boros Bully and Boros Gates, and I think it's going to see a lot of play in blue-red Fairies. I think both of those decks need help with like the board wipe element, because they can't board wipe, or they board wipe themselves too. And you know, you can only run so many Electrickeries because that's all they do, and they're just not that good right now. But man, are they going to be happy to see this card in the sideboard. Big fan of this card.
Oh yeah.
All right. Next up, Viachino Branch Rider. It's a 1-drop, which is reasonable. It's a Viachino Warrior. It's a 1/1. It has haste generically. It's got kicker for 2 and a green, so 4 mana total. If it was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2/1/1 counters, and it has weird off-rate fire breathing at 2 and a red to get +2/+0. This is the response to the green-blue fairy, where we had blue with a green kicker of also 3, so it was a 4-drop 3/3 flyer. Or was it a 5-drop 3/3 flyer?
It's 4 on the kicker.
Kicker's
so it's
4, right? Yeah, so it's a 5-drop 3/3 flyer. This is a 4-drop 3/3 without flying, but it has haste. And it has option to fire breathe instead of the tap to change a lane type of something you control. Much less relevant creature typing on this card, but I think this card's probably better. That being said, I don't see it making a whole lot of space anywhere. I don't think this is going to make the cut. I can't imagine any deck in competitive Pauper wants this. Like, Constructed certainly can't consider a card like this these days. Limited might like it as just, a raging goblin with weird fire breathing. I like that this is one of the few cards, and I've called it out as we went, that the kicker is not overcosted and the card itself doesn't start at a base rate that's too high. I think this is a remarkably kickable card. I think if this card has any hope at all of making a splash in Constructed Pauper, it's going to be thanks to Manamorphose and Burning Tree Emissary. But that being said, Gruul aggro decks exist, but not good. Mono Red Blitz is kind of the top dog right now for aggro decks, and Gruul doesn't seem likely to knock it off that spot anytime soon. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see this making too many waves. I wouldn't be surprised if this shows up in like a Gruul aggro list or some sort of mono red with Burning Tree Emissary list. But outside of that, I don't think this is going in very many places.
Yeah. A small note for when you played in Sealed or in Draft, you most likely want to pick this just because of the relevance of tokens. Unless you know your opponent's not playing any 1/1 tokens that they can just throw away, then you're fine just poking them for 1 on turn 1, maybe on turn 2 as well. But this card's not good enough, I don't think, in Standard. Or, not Standard. Pauper Constructed.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think this is going to make very many waves. But don't be too upset because we're going to end on a real high note here. We move on to the last card in red, which is Yavamaya Steel Crusher. And boy, what a card this is. Quasili Pride Mage has a red printing now. This is a 2-mana 2/2, red and a colorless for an Ape Warrior with Enlist. But it also has the 1 generic mana, sacrifice it to destroy target artifact. I think this card's really good. I don't know that it's going to be great in Constructed, I don't know that it's going to be great in Limited, although Enlist has shown some promise in Limited, so maybe it'll just get a boost from having that keyword. I think this card is going to be played a lot in Constructed. A lot of decks can deal with non-creatures, but not too many of them can function under threat of activation, and that card has in spades. Artifact Hate is at an all-time high right now. It's in an all-time premium right now, rather. And this card just has added upside of threat of activation for artifact removal. I'm a big fan. I think this card is going to be surprisingly good.
Yeah, I will say that I like the white one we got earlier this year, the 3/1 with Flash. I think that's a much better word than Enlist.
Mm-hmm.
However, red getting this on a creature is, I want to say, about time.
Yep.
Just to be able to destroy any artifact, not a non-creature one, is very, very welcome.
I will throw out that Mono Red Blitz did at some points in the past run Torch Fiends, as well as just some regular burn or red deck wins decks. And this is Torch Fiend on crack. Enlist, I think, is going to be better in some of those aggressive decks in Constructed, but this is certainly going to see sideboard play, potentially mainboard play, just as a good 2-drop with Enlist to follow up. I think this card's going to be quite good. But yeah, I don't think it's going to make the main board of very many, if any, decks. I think it's going to be primarily sideboardable. I think it's potentially a card for the cube. I personally don't think it'll make the cut, but I'm open to opinions on that. We'll see where this card ends up. But as far as immediate card like impressions and how accurate we're going to be able to like predict impacts, I think this is one of the more ambiguous cards. This certainly has the potential to see a lot of play, but it also has the potential to be completely unused. And I don't know which end of the spectrum it's going to end up on, but I'm interested in finding out.
Yeah. It's just good to have the option. That's really what I'm happy about.
Yeah, threat of activation is a big thing for this. Random cool cutout or call out, but in the art of this card, it looks to me like he's holding some sort of a small metal sliver. Any ideas on what it is he's holding?
Oh. It looks almost like a spine.
Sort of.
I got no idea.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's an interesting artwork. I'm digging the artwork, and I think the card's good. We'll wrap up red on that note, though.
Oh, so there's a funny thing about what's he holding in his other hand that he is not crushing.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. That just about wraps up the bunch of cards for this color. Please like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. It's a brand new YouTube channel. Any help really does matter. Share this video with your friends. And by all means, let me know if you think we misevaluated something. Sleeper bomb. What's your favorite card out of this color? So let us know down in the comments below. As usual, goodbye forever. Let's see you tomorrow.